I want to talk to you about, excuse me, is the characteristic of young adult literature. I have several listed here. Actually, I have 13, I believe. And I'm taking these from Literature for Today's Young Adults by Nielsen and Donaldson, and also the book From Hinton to Hamlet by Nielsen and Donaldson. So they're two of the foremost researchers in young adult literature. Okay, so what are the characteristics of young adult literature? Well, first of all, young adult authors write from the viewpoint of young people. Second, parents or adults play very minor roles so that the young person can take credit for his or her own accomplishments. Number 3, young adult literature is fast-paced. Number 4, it includes a variety of genres and subjects, and some of these genres we are seeing flowing over into adult novels as well. For example, multiple narrators. I just finished a book that had 3 narrators. That's becoming, probably because the young adult population is growing into adults, and so they're bringing the types of genre that they enjoy into adult reading. Number 5, young adult literature includes stories from many different ethnic and cultural groups. You will be amazed at how much literature there is that has authors from other cultures. And this is really interesting because it took so long for this to develop in the standard literature that you're taking in your college classes, and yet it has blossomed in young adult literature. Number 6, young adult literature's books are basically optimistic, and the characters make worthy accomplishments. Even though the situation may be extremely bad and the narrator may have lots of personal issues that he or she has to work through, they still make worthy accomplishments. Number 7, young adult novels deal with emotions that are important to young adults. Although they share some of those emotions with adults, they're still set in such a way that it's definitely a situation that a young adult would deal with. Emotions that they are experiencing. So they may have frustration or concern, but it probably will not be about financial issues as it would be in the case of adults. That's just one example. Okay, number 8, the main character is a teenager. Number 9, events and problems in the plot are related to teenagers. There will be adults in the novels quite frequently, but they're just minor characters, and their issues are not the issues of the teenagers, and sometimes they don't understand the teenager at all. So all of it is reflecting what's happening in that young adult life. Number 10, the dialogue reflects teenage speech, including slang, and for that reason, before you assign a novel for a classroom to read as a group, make sure you've read it first, because the language in some cases is very graphic and probably something that would cause you problems if you tried to teach it to the whole class. It wouldn't be something that I would say don't have in your bookshelf because of the language, because kids, you know yourself, kids speak in such a way that would cause their parents heart failure, but there's a double standard there. They may speak that way in their social lives, but we as teachers cannot approve of that language in our classrooms. That's probably something that we'll touch on whenever we talk about censorship, but we won't go any further than that right now. Number 11, the point of view presents an adolescent's interpretation of events and people. And you know yourself that quite often the way a young adult sees what's happening is quite different from the way the adults involved see the same situation. Number 12, the teenage main character is usually perceptive, sensitive, intelligent, mature, and independent. And if they aren't mature or independent, they are becoming that way. Number 13 is probably one of the most important things, and that is the novel is short, rarely more than 200 pages. It's small enough that they can carry the book with them wherever they go, and it's not going to be obtrusive. It's short enough that they can read it between, small parts of it between going to work and going to school and all the numerous activities that they have. So the length of a young adult novel is definitely important. And 14, did I say 13? There are 14 characteristics. The actions and decisions of the main character are major factors in the outcome of the conflict. It's not something done to that person, but something that that person does on his own. Not so much outside forces as the way they respond to those outside forces. And those are the 14 characteristics of young adult literature. Now I'm going to go on and see if this continues to work. The next thing I want to talk to you about are some of the genres that are popular with young adults. They really like contemporary realistic fiction, and they enjoy everything from tragedies to romance, but they like for it to be realistic. They also like poetry, and sometimes we forget that. We get so caught up in we have to cover this and this and this that we forget that we can insert poetry into many classroom sessions, just a little bit of this or that, and we don't have to teach it to death. We can just present it for them to enjoy. They like drama, and again, they like to produce drama as much as read it. I don't care for drama. I don't like to read drama that much. I enjoy watching it, but not so much reading it. And so as a teacher, I had to make sure I included drama in my lessons. They love humor. We talked a little bit about the kind of humor that they enjoy. And they like the new media. Some of them really enjoy the digital literacies. They're much more comfortable with the digital format than we are. They are digital natives, as one writer puts it, and we are digital immigrants. And that's me. You guys may be part of the digital natives session group here. They like adventure, sports, mysteries. They like the supernatural. And you may have students that really get into werewolves and vampires and witches and all that kind of thing, which may terrify their parents, but it's just the part of what they're going through. They're experiencing these things vicariously. They enjoy fantasy, science fiction. They like to read about utopias, and they also like to read about dystopias, when it all goes wrong, as in The Giver. Some of them really enjoy history, and they like to read about history makers. If it's a well-written biography or autobiography, they'll buy into it. And one of the things that I neglected when I was teaching in high school, they really enjoy nonfiction. I was so caught up in teaching the plot structure and all the literary elements and those kinds of things that I forgot to include a lot of nonfiction. And they want to know the hows and whys of things, and things that are, when I allowed them to do research, they went right to that nonfiction to find out all of that information. I wish I had known that, because nonfiction is especially good in working with your struggling readers. They don't read so much for enjoyment. They read more for getting the facts, and this would have been a very useful tool for me to have used. Wish I could redo some things. Another thing that they really love is graphic novels. I think this may become more important as we have more students coming in from multi-ethnic backgrounds, students whose first language is not English. They can tell the story, what's going on in the story, from the pictures and kind of follow along and then read the words as they are able to understand the English vocabulary. We need to use as much visual as we can, and one of the things we can do sometimes is to take a piece of literature that's a standard piece and allow them to turn it into graphic novels so that they can make those connections that are so important to them. Wish I could have done that over as well.